Hey everybody, Yahoo Fantasy Football, the Tucson Tackle Dummies League, Week 4. This year, Week 4 recap. We begin intra-divisional play as the teams will leave their respective divisions and play around the rest of the league. So we're going to kick things off with the closest matchup of the week. Inglorious Bearju knocked off Viva Football 138.11 to 130.6. This week's closest matchup was a nail-biter for winner Bearju, who had to watch Viva tally 32.33 on Monday night to nearly pull off an improbable comeback. Viva had big performances from quarterback Josh Freeman with a game-high 25.43, 22 from the New York Jets defense, and finally a healthy Arian Foster returning 23.35 this week. But lineup issues once again did in Viva as the defensive linemen and linebackers combined for 0.5 from those 4 slots this week for Viva, with one linebacker slot left empty once again. Bearju got another big game from tight end Jimmy Graham with a team-high 21.7, while wide receivers Jordy Nelson added 16.35, and kicker Matt Bryant booted 16 points this week, and the Detroit defense netted 19 points against the Dallas Cowboys this week. The individual performances for Bearju were needed, though, to help overcome letdown games from quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick with 9.46, wide receiver Torrey Smith with less than 1, and wide receiver Mario Manningham with just 1.35. The win now puts Bearju atop the Wildcat division with a 3-1 record, while Viva continues to look for their first ever fantasy football victory. In other action, Lombardi's Ghost knocked off AZ Chargers in another close one, 144.62 to 137.03. Lombardi hands AZ Chargers his first loss of the year in a blow-for-blow battle across the lineup for both teams. Lombardi had a game-high 24.05 from wide receiver Wes Welker, while Welker's teammate, quarterback Tom Brady, added 17.74 to Lombardi's total. AZ Chargers answered with a handcuff of his own as San Diego quarterback Phillip Rivers and wide receiver Vincent Jackson combined for 36.68 points. Both teams had double-digit surprises at flex as well, as AZ Chargers used Willis McGahee for 12.8 and Lombardi used tight end Benjamin Watson for 12.3. Each team, though, had disappointment on offense as well, as both tight ends underperformed. Rob Gronkowski for AZ Chargers tallied just 1.75 this week, and tight end Jermichael Finley netted just 3.55 for Lombardi. And both teams had success on defense as well, as AZ Chargers scored 47 to Lombardi's 46.5 in a tight one. But when it was all said and done, Lombardi eked out a crucial victory to stay tied atop the Wildcat division with a 3-1 record, while AZ Chargers remains atop the Toro division despite the loss by a game. And also in other action, Championship Cheese knocked off Mustache Discount 142.49 to 133.84. Cheese used half the team beating projections to squeeze by Mustache this week, handing Mustache their first loss outside the Toro division since the format was instated last season, and the first two-game losing streak this team has had since the 2009 playoffs. Mustache had a game-high 23.94 from quarterback Tony Romo and 16.95 from handcuff wide receiver Des Bryant, plus 20.1 from Carolina's Steve Smith. Cheese used 19.5 from Ray Rice and a surprise 18.95 from wide receiver Eric Decker to overcome a poor showing at quarterback with Kevin Cobb and just 7.58 points, and 2 offensive players scoring under 2 points. Cheese bounced back on defense, though, winning the battle 49.5 to 26. Mustache had no defensive players meet projections, while Cheese had 14 from the New Orleans defense, 10.5 from defensive back Jason McCourty, and 10.5 again from linebacker James Laurinaitis. The end result is 2 teams now sitting at 2-2, taking different paths to that point. Mustache is the least scored on team in the league, but sits at 2-2, while Cheese is the second most scored on team, sitting at 2-2. But both teams are still just 1 game out of their respective divisional leads. Additionally, the injury bug once again struck Mustache this week as Gerard Mayo went down for at least 6 weeks with a strained MCL. Incidentally, Mustache released Mayo after this matchup. In other action, Wildcats knocked off the Amazons 121.87 to 112.2. Wildcats improves to 3-1 using 7 players beating projections to just 3 players beating projections for Amazons this week. dropping Amazons to 2-2 on the year. Wildcats had a game-high 18.4 from tight end Jason Witten and an unexpected 13.25 from wide receiver Josh Morgan to overcome low scores from wide receiver Malcolm Floyd with just 3.1, tight end Heath Miller with just 2.25, and running back Adrian Peterson fell 9 points short of projections this week with just 8.55 total. Amazons had 17.55 from quarterback Matthew Stafford, and running back Darren McFadden and wide receiver Sidney Rice each broke 14 points this week. But Peyton Hillis fell short of projections, 7 points short to be exact, with just 8.15 points. And fellow running back Carnell Williams scored no points this week for Amazons. Wildcats had 3 defensive players beat projections on that side of the ball, led by defensive back Jeremiah Bell with 14. Amazons had 15 points from the Green Bay defense and 11 points from defensive back Antrell Roll, but no other defensive player scored over 3.5. In other action, White Powerade knocked off Angry Arthritis 142.89 to 130.3. Powerade picks up his first win in Tucson Tackle Dummies League play at the expense of the now 0-4 Arthritis in a very close battle settled by just over 12 points. Powerade had a game-high 32.64 from quarterback Michael Vick and 40.3 from 3 wide receivers. Arthritis had a team-high 19.89 from Eli Manning to go with 17.05 from running back Fred Jackson and 12.25 from tight end Greg Olson. However, Arthritis lost Andre Johnson for at least a few weeks to injury on Sunday, and he scored just 4.6 before going down. And banged-up wide receiver Roddy White did play this week, but he fell short of projections with his 9.3 points this week. Powerade then won the defensive battle 35.5 to 34.5, even though Arthritis had 4 on defense beat projections to Powerade's 2. Arthritis is now the league's most scored on team and must overcome a 3-game deficit in his division, while Powerade finally gets 1 win in the win column. In other action, Big Ben's Revenge knocked off Greek Thunderball in a blowout 145.43 to 104.94. Greek once again managed to exceed projections, though, despite a terrible lineup on defense, but still got blown out by the defending champion. Greek needed the 2 highest scores in this matchup this week to break 100 points, with nearly half the team's points coming from Pierre Garçon with 27.1 and Calvin Johnson with 23.6. The rest of Greek's squad was largely disappointing. Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback barely met half his projected points this week, and 5.85 points came from the 2 running backs on Greek's squad this week, while the defense managed a combined 2 points. Big Ben scored the win this week with strong performances across the board, including 18.89 from emergency quarterback Curtis Painter from the Colts and 36.35 from running backs Michael Turner and Mike Tolbert. Kicker Dan Carpenter added 13, and linebacker David Harris scored 16 to lock down an easy victory for Big Ben, who improves to 2-2 in his division, just 1 game out of the Wildcat division lead. In other action, Mojo Jojo knocked off What the Shell 197.82 to 140.61. Mojo hands Shell his first loss of the season and sets a new league scoring record in the process, defeating the team that previously had the scoring record for all of a week. Mojo flirted with 200 points this week thanks to 48.37 from quarterback Aaron Rodgers as he torched the Denver Broncos this week. Mojo added 31.7 from running backs LeGarrette Blount and James Starks. In all, Mojo had 10 players in double digits this week to Shell's 6. This week's highest scoring loser, Shell, had a team high 19.59 from Drew Brees plus 17.95 from wide receiver Dwayne Bowe. But running back Maurice Jones-Drew and wide receiver Stevie Johnson both fell way short of projections, and Shell was beat on defense 58.5 to 31.82. Shell had just 1 defensive player top projections, while Mojo had 15 from the Houston defense, 13 from Ladarius Webb, and 13.5 from Desmond Bishop. Mojo finished with 73.22 from his 3 Green Bay Packers this week, vaulting him to a 3-1 record in sole possession of the Aztec division lead, while the loss puts the league's highest scoring team, Shell, in a tie with Wildcats atop the Cab division at 3-1. And then we move to the biggest blowout of the week. Raging Boners knocked off Navajo's 163.14 to 103.54. Boners scores the week's biggest blowout, knocking off Navajos by nearly 60 points. The 60-point gap can be attributed to two major performances for Boners this week. The Baltimore defense netted 35 points, a new record at that position, and quarterback Cam Newton continues to perform despite losing, snagging 34.81 against the Chicago Bears this week. Speaking of the Bears, though, Navajos tabbed the Chicago Bears defense for 14 points this week, while fellow Bear Matt Forte scored a team-high 29.8 for Navajos. But Chicago quarterback Jay Cutler managed just 3.73 points this week. And then at wide receiver, Devery Henderson and running back Tim Hightower for Navajos both fell short of projections. Henderson actually scoring no points. Boners had a combined 34.7 from New York Giants wide receiver Hakeem Nicks and running back Ahmad Bradshaw. That helped to overcome the Houston Texans pair that Boners started. They combined for just 2.39 points, them being James Casey and Jacoby Jones. The win puts Boners a game back in the Cab division at 2-2, while the same can be said for Navajos, who's also 2-2 in the Aztec division. Looking forward to next week, we're going to have Championship Cheese take on AZ Chargers. Mojo Jojo will face the winless Angry Arthritis, and Glorious Bear Jew will take on Greek Thunderball. Raging Boners will face White Powerade. Wildcats will take on Navajos. What the Shell will take on Amazons. Lombardi's Ghost will take on winless Viva Football. And in a rematch of last year's championship, Big Ben's Revenge will take on Mustache Discount. So we'll look forward to seeing you back this time next week for your Week 5 Tucson Tackle Dummies recap.